up, Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right? Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the Republic.
America first.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
The great Trump recovery.
America will never be a socialist country. I will fight for you with every breath in my body.
Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, the Russians.
Russia.
And I will never, ever let you down.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this.
The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. Together, we will make America strong again. You know what it's about? Fraud, fake ballots. We will make America wealthy again. They are trying to steal the election.
Now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of Special Operations Forces.
We will make America proud again. And watch, please, those mail-in ballots. We will make America safe again. And in millions and millions of ballots, their vote is under what they thought they needed. They're dumping more ballots in there, okay? And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you. If we are right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president.
Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Saturday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. As always, I am joined on Saturday by Chris Paul. Chris, how you doing, sir?
Seems pretty normal over here.
Normal over there.
Yeah.
We had a wedding today, a Badlanders wedding.
Yes,
Fat Chance
indeed.
and Whiskey Girl. Big shout out to you guys. I got to watch. It was pretty cool.
And the engagement happened at a Gart, did it not?
It did. It happened at Deadwood. I'm slightly bothered. Maybe bother's not the right word. Offended might be the better word, to not have been chosen to be the pastor, but that's okay. That's okay. The pastor they had seemed nice and they did the job right. So
yes,
we'll move past that. But yeah, man, been a fun week in news in totality. Like a couple big stories. Wasn't a lot going on, but some big stuff happening.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're like, I don't know how you can get more stuff going on than this unless there were these strange disparate events. But we started the week with the drug pricing effort by Trump. And then he went overseas and was treated and shown to be king of the world for 3 days. And I guess now he's back just kicking ass and SCOTUS is messing up. I feel like this week there was a lot going on. And then today, absolutely nothing.
Well, except a Mexican ship crashed into an American bridge or something.
Cool.
Did you see that?
And yeah, and I guess a car blew up in Palm Springs or something.
I did see there was an article I had pulled up. I don't know where I put it, but they were talking about Trump going to the Middle East and being treated like a prom king. I was like, I love the way they said that.
A prom king?
Yeah.
I love how they'll do whatever they can to try to diminish what he was shown to be by everyone who received him. I can't even like the video. I can't even get over the video of their palaces.
Oh, it's insane. And I have a couple of videos. We'll probably start the show with this once we get to our topics here. But yeah, Trump would be the prom king.
Stephen Miller had a funny post about how the beautiful palace would cost less to build. He said this exquisite palace was less expensive to build than the amount of money that Joe Biden spent putting illegal aliens up at the Roosevelt Hotel in New York.
Wait, what?
I'll find
For real?
Yeah.
That's a clip. Okay, you find that. I'm gonna get
just a tweet, but yeah.
Okay, we'll get a quick word from our sponsors, and then we'll get to that tweet and the Middle East trip. There's a couple of videos I want to play. We're going to talk about SCOTUS. We're going to talk about the Her Biden tapes and the Autopen situation, and see what else comes up along the way. But first up, for sponsors, we got Love Litters. Big shout out to these guys. This company is awesome. Attention, all you Badlanders with purring pals and feathered friends. Say hello to Love Litters. 100% pure kiln-dried wood, free from chemicals and oh so kind to Mother Earth. No dust, no mess, and no toxins. Just a lightweight solution that's gentle on your wallet and even gentler in your home. Our biodegradable litter is crafted from wood destined for landfills, giving it new purpose in your pet's life. Cats love it. Their astonishing formula works like magic to neutralize that notorious cat urine odor, keeping your home pine fresh and welcoming. And for bird lovers, it zaps moisture from bird droppings, crumbling them away, all while being safe if pecked at or ingested. And for reptiles and critters too, their mix is crafted to dilute the pine scent, ensuring those little lungs stay happy and healthy. Plus, every 30-pound bag of Love Litters will last up to 6 months, saving you some money. So transform your pet care routine today. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/litter. That's badlandsmedia.tv/litter. And breathe easy with the litter that loves your pet as much as you do. And I can vouch for these guys. Brian over there at Love Litters, he's been awesome to us. He's been a great supporter. He's come to a couple Garts just behind the scenes. He's a champion for Badlands. So if you have a cat or a bird or something, give him a shot. America First Badlands supporter. Why not?
I don't have a cat or a bird, but I'll get some anyway. I'll just find something to do with it.
I am pulling up that tweet real quick, and then I'll get to the second sponsor. Yeah, even if you don't have a cat or a bird, get some Love Litters. Okay, so this exquisite palace cost less to construct than Democrats spent housing illegal migrants at the Roosevelt Hotel, less than the funds given to a single left-wing NGO to resettle refugees, less than the cost of DI contracts in a single government agency. That is crazy.
Yeah, it really is crazy because the amount of money that we are regularly told is necessary to do poorly some things that the government shouldn't be doing. It's just so out of hand that the numbers don't even make sense. I actually, and this is maybe you'll be interested in this. I don't know. It's kind of silly, but
I like silly.
I sometimes wonder if the salary inflation in professional sports is like to intentionally inflate these numbers just out of control. Like when you see, who was it? Pete Alonso or someone signed with the Mets for $750 million over 10 years.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the contract? That's insane.
I think Ohtani got a huge one like that too. And he like deferred payment on it for a long time.
I mean, that's absolutely nuts. You can become a billionaire playing baseball.
I mean, it's kind of the dream. He said, Ohtani signed a 10-year, $700 million contract. $680 million of it is in deferred payments. So it's the Mets who have that contract where they agreed to pay out a guy like Benitez or something, or Bonito, every year for
Bobby Bonilla, man. He used to be a Pirate. I used to be a Pirates fan. And I think that I can't believe we're on sports again, but Barry Bonds, when he left the Pittsburgh Pirates, the franchise has been basically terrible ever since then. And he went for the most extraordinary contract anyone could imagine. And it was 7 years, $45 million.
Wow.
For the greatest player in the history of baseball, basically.
Yeah, that's crazy. Is he off the Hall of Fame list, Barry Bonds?
I don't know whatever happened with him.
I don't either. I did see they let Pete Rose off though.
Yeah, and it's funny. I actually did a bit about that on my show a couple of months back because Trump had tweeted about how Pete Rose should be made eligible again. And I said at the time, like, Trump definitely knows that this is going to happen. And because he's putting that statement out before Rose is made eligible again, either he's actually making it happen or he's going to get credit for it happening. And then the other day I saw articles that were like, Trump got Pete Rose made eligible for the Hall of Fame again.
I wonder how much he does stuff like that where he has whispers or he kind of knows the backstory of what might happen. And so well in advance, he tweets it out just so he can claim credit for it later. Because
time.
We also talk all the time though about how he like dictates the narrative, so how much of it is him dictating the narrative or taking credit for something that he knows is later to come true.
Well, I mean, if you ask me, I think that the narrative on that side at least is, and I'm not saying that every single thing is controlled and scripted, but they know when they're rolling stories out, which things they're going to use to distract the American public from the other things that are going on. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence, for instance, that Trump headed overseas for the first time to this massive display by, Saudi and Qatar and UAE on the same week that they started the Diddy trial, right? Like there have been a few stories this week, and it's not to say that those stories aren't important, but they're very salacious and attention grabbing. And so the media then has an excuse for why they didn't spend any time whatsoever showing mainstream America the fact that the rest of the world, the rest of the power in the world thinks of Donald Trump as the king.
Yeah. I mean, they're obviously going to hide that fact no matter what. But when I think about it now, there's multiple levels of Trump's tweets. And I wish they would like almost put, A, B, C, or D. So one, it's the campaign stuff, right? Like I'm going to endorse these people. I'm going to endorse these people. Trump isn't sitting there writing those himself. He has somebody write those for him. Then there's like the policy tweets where him and his team, and it's kind of the, I think back to Keith Kellogg when he gave his testimony on J6 and described how they all sat together and like formulated the tweets. That's how I envisioned that stuff going on. Like, you need to put this out. And then there's probably whatever stuff he does from an operational level, like, keyword devil or mission related. And then there's like him on the toilet tweets, like him phone in his hand, whatever he wants to say. And you can kind of tell which ones are which along the way, but those are the four types of Trump truths in my mind.
Did you see the campaign documentary or whatever the Tucker Carlson podcast network created during the last campaign? Because it had Trump sitting next to Natalie Harp, who I guess takes care of these things for him.
No,
she used to be on OAN, I think.
Interesting.
He was basically dictating tweets to her, or Truth Social posts.
Yeah.
In that scene. I bet I can pull it up.
It was in the plane, right? Like it was during Biden's campaign, or
I think it was in a hotel suite.
Okay, maybe. Yeah, pull that up real quick. A quick shout out to Snowcat Operator for gifting some subs. I saw a few people get some here, so we appreciate your guys' support, and we'll get to the rants here at the end. I do have one more sponsor, Chris, to talk about before you pull that up, and that is Save Pulse. Today's show is also sponsored by Save Pulse. At Save Pulse, we are dedicated to keeping you and your family healthy with top quality medications like amoxicillin, azithromycin, ivermectin, and hydroxychloroquine at unbeatable prices. The streamlined ordering process makes it easy to stock up on health essentials. And now with exciting news about fenbendazole showing promise in cancer research, they're proud to offer this alongside their antibiotics and viral care meds. Don't wait. Prepare for any health scenario today. Get your supply and stay ahead of the curve with Save Pulse. Now save even more. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/meds. Use promo code SAVEHEALTH at checkout and get a 20% discount on orders over $100. And all you guys should have that stuff in your house, regardless, just for the you never know what's going to happen scenario. So again, that's badlandsmedia.tv/meds. All right, you got the video?
No. I'm actually quite upset here. Oh, this might be it.
No dice.
Okay, yeah. I think I have it. It's not a very good version of it, but I think it's the right thing.
Okay. By the way, those new to the chat, if you're new to the chat, new to the channel, make sure you hit the thumbs up, give us a follow, but come say hi in the chat. We have a really good community of chatters over here on Rumble, so don't be shy. Oh, are you sending me a link to it? Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for you to like pull it up and share your screen.
I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. Here we go.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my God. Is she crazy?
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you so very much. Thank
Oh,
you.
too many. Thank you. It's about 20. I've never, must be 35.
Traveling from India
That's
to
good.
California with an unshakable dream to be the scientist.
How many people are watching?
Can we tell how many, Dan? How many people are watching? Thank you.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of too.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always thought it was on Air Force One, but it makes sense. It's a hotel room. But yeah, they do the team stuff. But you know he has some tweets where he's just off the cuff by himself.
Yeah.
As well. But yeah, we'll get to a bunch of Trump stuff. And maybe we can start with that Middle East trip because there's a couple of videos he posted that I think are pretty good. First one was the Saudi Arabia trip.
We believe in peace through strength. You have to have the strength. I believe it is God's job to sit in judgment, my job to defend America and to promote the fundamental interest of stability, prosperity, and peace. We had 52 days of thunder and lightning on the Houthis in Yemen like they've never seen before. This was a swift, ferocious, decisive, and extremely successful use of military force. So we hit them hard. We got what we came for, and then we got out. The gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits. The birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love so dearly.
Do you think it's interesting how often he references like the peace that he made with the Houthis? Because like he was in Saudi Arabia, but a lot of times on True Social and in interviews and all these things, he keeps talking about how they were bombing the shit out of the Houthis, and then all of a sudden, but we made peace and we stopped that. Like he really wants everybody to know that they are no longer bombing the shit out of the Houthis.
Well, yeah, and the timing of it was really interesting because Israel at the same time was bombing the Houthis.
Yes.
Like within 24 hours, the US stopped, but also Israel was hitting them with the US as a backup. So that doesn't actually sound possible if you ask me. It's in terms of going after the Houthis, a lot of the Houthi stories last year leading up to the election sounded like bullshit. We got the clearest proof that we have that something happened was itself part of an info op, which was the Signalgate thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I just keep an open mind about these things, man. The surface interpretation we can totally talk about, but
can we talk about why they put an H at the end of the name if you're not supposed to say the H?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Other languages, they just throw curveballs at you left and right.
Yeah, but no, that's a really good point. I mean, he's stressing the fact that they're the ones that stopped, and the bombing that's still ongoing is definitely Israel. Because I see the Israel and Ukraine situation. We've talked about this so many times, which we can get into Ukraine and Russia and that whole weird thing. Like Putin's like, hey, let's go to Turkey, and then Zelensky's like, yeah, I'll be there. And then Zelensky gets there, and nobody else comes, and he gets all pissy about it. And now
Trump was hinting all week that he might go too.
Yeah, but then him and Putin both abandoned it. And now the Vatican is offering their stance. But anyway, I see the Israel situation much like the Ukraine one, where they're the aggressors. They're going to continue to be the aggressors until it becomes untenable. And what happens at that point, I don't know. But it feels like we're going that direction.
Yeah, I agree. Trump said on Air Force One on his way back, I guess it was yesterday or maybe it was Thursday evening for us. He said that nothing was going to happen. Nothing was going to get done. The war would not end until he and Putin get to meet. And so now I guess on Monday, they're supposed to be talking on the phone.
Yep. Phone call with Putin on Monday. Actually, I have that tweet here, or the truth post here. If I can find it. Yeah, here we go. This is Trump, and this was earlier today. I will be speaking by telephone to President Vladimir Putin of Russia on Monday at 10 a.m. The subjects of the call will be stopping the bloodbath that is killing on average more than 5,000 Russian and Ukrainian soldiers a week, and trade. I will then be speaking to President Zelensky of Ukraine, and then with President Zelensky, various members of NATO. Hopefully it will be a productive day. A ceasefire will take place, and this very violent war, a war that should have never happened, will end. God bless us all. Interesting. I don't know if I buy that 5,000 number.
No, I don't either. Burning Bright had a good post about this today, recalling the perfect phone call with Volodymyr Zelensky back in, I guess it was 2019. So
I guess I could pull that up here.
I know it pains you.
It does a little bit, but that's okay. It's this one?
Yeah.
The first perfect phone call of the InfoWar was Trump's call with Zelensky in July of 2019. Of course, this set the quid pro Joe trap the media fell into whole hog. I've been arguing ever since that it takes two to make a perfect phone call. A lot of those happening lately. I'm still not convinced of the Zelensky thing, but
oh, that like Zelensky is like our boy, like that framework.
He's controlled because like Trump controls like everything. He can't control any battle space he wants at this point, but he's not like a white hat. He's just stuck. That's my opinion. That.
I was talking about this yesterday on my show. We've talked about the playpen example before, and then I used another one yesterday. I was saying if Mike Tyson was in a boxing ring against a 4-year-old, that 4-year-old could try to destroy Mike Tyson in any way he was capable. He could do absolutely everything he could ever think of, everything he could physically accomplish to beat up Mike Tyson. And at no point would Mike Tyson ever not be in control.
Yeah.
So it's not that all of the other side's actions are completely scripted. It's that you are either in such a powerful position that there is nothing that they can do to throw things off, or you've got them so cornered in game theory or whatever else that everything they attempt to do ultimately just backfires and harms them. And I don't know which of these describes the reality, but it's one of those. And it's not that there's this great power and that Volodymyr Zelensky, the comedic actor from Ukraine, has all this decision-making power that has us almost in a world war.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with your framing there. I will say like my interpretation of it and putting it in that metaphor would be like, okay, there's a 4-year-old sure in there and you're Mike Tyson, but also there's a lot of like babies there that the 4-year-old can go and like whack on the face now and then if he gets a little slippery. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like there's some collateral damage that can take place. But you're absolutely right. Like there's no way that Mike Tyson isn't going to walk out of that ring KO on that baby.
Yeah. I think maybe maybe let's stretch the analogy a little further. In that baby's corner, in that child's corner, are all the formerly most powerful people in the world trying to figure out how that baby can beat Mike Tyson, even though it's impossible.
And ironically, they're all wearing diapers too, or unironically.
You know, I didn't go through the clips of that weird meeting that they had today, like the European leaders and Volodymyr Zelensky.
They had a meeting again today?
There was something that they had today. They were sitting around along a table for a photo op in front of like these like picture window kind of things. And I don't know. I thought I read, and I wish I had checked it out. I should have. I made a note of myself this morning, but forgot to do so. But that there was some call with Trump or something. I don't know if that was a joke or what.
I see a Russian drone strike on Ukrainian bus kills family.
Oh.
False flag. How Russia uses Ukrainians to sabotage the West. I don't see. Is it this one?
If I can find it.
This can't be it.
I don't know.
What is that?
No, that's definitely not what the picture looked like.
Get me out of here.
I've brought us into a hold for processing. I feel really bad about it.
I bet you don't feel that bad.
I don't feel that bad. I'll get over it.
Because I'm digging too. I want to find this picture, see what happened. But I feel like they've done that. Oh, here we go. Is this it? No. Well, this probably never happened either. We're just digging for ghosts at the moment. But that's okay.
I don't know. It looked as real as the rest of what they do looks. And apparently now the guy that burned down Keir Starmer's house was like his gay escort or something.
Of course he was. Did you try to hit him over the head with a hammer?
I don't know if the hammer was involved, but I do think it's funny that Josh Shapiro, not funny that somebody's house burned down to the extent that it's real, and it's probably not, or not as described at least. But Josh Shapiro just had that happen to him.
Yep.
A month ago or so.
Yep. And everybody freaked out about that one too, if it was real. And they immediately stopped talking about it when they found out the guy was African-American, pretty sure. I'm going to play this video while you're looking for whatever you're looking for, if you're still looking for it. But this is his trip to Qatar now. So the first one was Saudi Arabia. This is Qatar. And then we also have the Arab Emirates next.
It's a true privilege to visit your country, special country, and gather as friends. I'm honored to be the first American president ever to officially visit. To the Emir, to the royal family, and to this entire nation, congratulations on a spectacular job. As president, I'm proud that our growing friendship is blossoming into a full-fledged economic and security partnership. We're setting records on this trip. We're bringing a lot of investment back into the United States of America. We'll be well over $10 trillion. I want to thank Your Highness for helping with that number. You know you can count on us, and you know that it's going to be a great investment for you. So tonight, let us give thanks for the blessings of this friendship. We have a great friendship. I want to wish peace to the Emir and to all Qataris. Working together, we can help the entire region unlock its potential. So I just want to say it's an honor to be with you.
Well, there's number 2. And I'm curious, I haven't watched the third one yet, but we'll do that in a minute. And I'm assuming the difference in the tone and the message from Trump's first stop in Saudi Arabia, what he said and where he said it, to who he was saying it to, and then these other stops, like you can clearly see how significant Saudi Arabia is on the game board.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that, it's critical to notice that these countries are the most powerful countries in the world. These are the wealthiest countries in the Middle East. Then we're talking about like Russia, China, India, in Asia and Eurasia. And then there's Europe, where there are still predominantly countries aligned with the regime, though none of them are very powerful and have much influence. And then South America, you've got Venezuela, which is anti-regime, Brazil, which, is in their kind of phase that we just had on a 2-year delayed timeline with Lula.
Yeah.
And then you've got Argentina down at the tip, just the tip. You can just see regions of the world being put under the control of the same forces broadly. And Burning Bright would call it the Sovereign Alliance. And I know I heard the other night, he was like, why doesn't he just say Sovereign Alliance? Here's why. Because they're not necessarily an alliance. They could just be disparate countries that are working toward the same goal, knowing that these other countries are also working toward it. Is there an actual alliance between all these countries? I think that there might be. That might be a totally accurate term. I'm just not all the way there as far as calling it an alliance. And I don't know that I would, that's not really how I conceive of it. But it's a valuable term. It's useful. He may well be totally right.
You don't need to try to inflate Burning Bright's ego and make him feel good just because Chris was telling me before the show how much he hates the word and the idea Sovereign Alliance. He doesn't think it's happening at all. Just doesn't want to say it. Just kidding. I do think it's interesting what you said there about these countries like all being super powerful, super wealthy. They got their wealth from oil, and Trump's golden age, the one that he keeps preaching, is nuclear energy. Like, I know we're doing the drill baby drill, but like the future is in nuclear, and all these countries have to like fill out a FAFSA application to get it from the United States. You know what I mean? Like they have to ask the United States for permission to go on to the next era when their entire wealth has been accumulated from oil. They should be against that transition, but Trump is getting them all on board. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't actually have a thought about that. I've not really thought about that way to any significant degree. I mean, one of the keys was that the oil in the Middle East was pinned to the dollar. And over the last few years, we've started hearing about how the petrodollar is going away. Saudi Arabia in particular is going to be trading in other currencies with Russia and China, et cetera, maybe move to being BRICS friendly. And we're still waiting to see what the next step is. As far as the nuclear and the data centers and the AI and that advanced technology, all of that to me still screams Bitcoin. Because, and particularly with the setup, the Bitcoin mining facilities, the setup that's becoming just the way it's done is that there is a power plant, and next to that is the Bitcoin mining facility. And it kind of just feeds all day. And whatever extra energy is produced gets added to the grid and sold onto the grid. And so the AI model, power plant, data center. So are they just putting up the world's Bitcoin infrastructure under the guise of these AI investments? And we're supposed to fear all of this, as part of the existential crisis threat that the regime is delivering because their old existential crises are not really working so much anymore?
It could be. And you have a really good point there, but also like in thinking of, Trump's connection to Tesla and the Tesla papers through his uncle and stuff that General Quast has talked about at our GARTs, like potential free energy. You could, use satellites to whatever extent you believe they exist to shoot energy down from the sun and like at a much higher efficiency. Like there's nuclear briefcases like you can carry around with you. Like that's the future. The future is potentially free energy. And if that's the case, Trump has to figure out a way to get all these countries who have made their fortunes on energy, oil energy, and get them on board with the free energy future. And how do you do that? And maybe it is through the Bitcoin infrastructure. I don't know. Maybe it's some other economic deals, something else they want. I don't know what motivates these people. Ghost might know, but I just think it's an interesting thought. Like he's had to navigate that.
Yeah. And along those lines, is it then worth it for these companies to give up some significant portion of their oil wealth, their sales, to remove themselves from the regime's currency system that has been used to control them and the world for generations?
That's an interesting thought. I mean, to them, especially if you think of a future of like peace, like actual peace in the Middle East that isn't being, false flagged and through all these wars and everything for the energy itself. Like maybe that's motivation to move away from it by itself, get out of the control and get them out of the business. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we talked, I know a couple of weeks ago about how I view, and I think maybe you're aligned with this, the cartels and the terrorist groups are the private armies of the regime. We know that intelligence organizations will embed themselves and infiltrate into communities in a country, try to, bring up these various uprisings in the Middle East. It's often religious sects of Islam going to war against other sects and varieties of Islam. And so if that element is totally removed, if they don't have the funding of these terrorist organizations, the arming and the intelligence and the direction, if that element's gone, the peace in the Middle East idea seems like a totally different construct than the one that we've been raised to believe exists.
Yeah. I mean, that's like everything we've been raised to believe exists is not.
You can't even imagine without the regime influence.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm not even going to play this next video unless you really want to see it. Otherwise, we can go through a couple more Trump tweets or truth posts. Sorry.
Put it on 125 and let's see how it goes. I didn't watch this one yet.
Okay.
You're an amazing country. You're a rich country. You can have your choice, but I know you'll never leave my side. And you know the special relationship that we have and our country has. We have now, I think, substantially over $10 trillion of investment. And now when I add the 1.4 trillion, we easily break that number. We really appreciate your confidence and an investment. That's your biggest investment that you've ever made. And we really appreciate it. And we're going to treat you very, as you should be, magnificently. And you're a magnificent man, and it's an honor to be with you. Two countries also agreed to create a path for UAE to buy some of the world's most advanced AI semiconductors from American companies, a very big contract. This will generate billions and billions of dollars in business and accelerate the UAE's plans to become a really major player in artificial intelligence. So it's a great tribute to the job you've done here. I'm very proud to be representing the United States of America, and thank you all for being here.
If I'm not mistaken, they shut down that entire temple the first time it's ever been actually shut down just to allow him to go into there. It was like one of the buildings they did that for. And I can look that up where I found that. But the point I made earlier about how the videos are different, Saudi Arabia was all about like, we're getting rid of the evil people, the nation builders and all those things. Both these other two ones, the UAE and Qatar, were all about the economic deals. So.
Interesting. One of the other elements that we haven't discussed yet is the Syria sanctions that they're talking about easing, and that would bring Syria then back into kind of the world community, right? Syria was one of those pariah states because of the so-called civil war that was happening there. And so, of course, we were told that they ousted Assad. They replaced him with a man who is simultaneously Al-Qaeda and also woke, if you remember that. And they went in and took over Syria. This terrorist did last fall. And now he's shaking hands with Donald Trump, and they're making deals. And then there was news yesterday that Saudi Arabia and Qatar paid off the debts of Syria to the World Bank. And so they're being Saudi and Qatar
of this
Qatar,
new regime.
I was corrected. Yeah. Paid off the Syrian debts to the World Bank, which might pull them out of that financial system. And now they are, the sanctions are going to be gone as well. And the funny thing is that to be able to do this, perhaps Trump's dealings, it's easier to do this with Assad out of the picture because of how we've been pitched everything about Assad over so many years. And I think Ghost, and certainly I expect that Assad will reclaim that spot at some point. I don't think this young former terrorist or whatever is going to be the guy, but maybe.
Yeah, I've never understood the Syria situation because I've always thought, like, based on what we've, I've seen online what Ghost has talked about, like the Assad guy was our boy, whatever, our boy Assad. Seemed like the regime hated him, right? And then he flees to Russia, like that's more signal. Russia and us bomb ISIS, but then this new guy comes in and this is like Mohammed bin Salman's buddy, and Trump is like, he was so happy when Mohammed bin Salman was the most excited he was the entire trip. It seemed was when Trump announced that he was pausing sanctions on Syria. He like got super excited about it. So I don't know. It's just weird stuff.
The al-Shara takeover of Syria felt very much like that weekend a couple years back. I think it was maybe late summer, midsummer of 2023, when we were told that the Wagner group was marching on Moscow with 7,000 guys. They were going to throw Putin out of office. And all of the retards who spend all their time doing Twitter spaces like Mario Knopfel and Ian Miles Chong spent like a 12-hour Twitter space covering that obviously bullshit story.
Yeah, because remember they were walking like, we're going to go kill Putin right now. And then
yeah,
they got like halfway there and just like, okay, we changed our mind.
Yeah. Well, they were, I'm not even sure they were halfway there. I think they were in Rostov-on-Don, which is like not very far from, it's in far southwestern Russia, if memory serves, and maybe right on the Ukraine border. But I mean, and then there were these articles about Yevgeny Prigozhin. He is like a film producer and used to be Putin's chef. And there are all these stories. It's like, you are obviously just a propaganda production company that does war propaganda. And hey, we've also got that. And it turns out a bunch of other countries also have that too. So to see all these war videos that we see now on the supposedly independent channels on Telegram and whatnot, I mean, I look at that stuff and I think, whoa, what a big explosion.
Yeah, well, Prigozhin is, may he rest in peace.
Totally.
He did die in that plane crash. No, but here I found that article I was talking about. In a UAE first, they shut down the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque for Donald Trump's special visit. It's marked a historic moment. It was exclusively closed for him, a first in its history. I wonder how long it's been around. It's probably pretty old, right?
I don't know.
Let me see if I can find it. The Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque. Why can I not copy and paste that? Why can I not copy and paste any of this?
Hold on, I'll do it.
India's not at war anymore. This stuff's supposed to be working. Mosque was constructed between 94 and 2007, inaugurated in December of 2007. So I was expecting like hundreds of years, but still pretty cool.
Still a long time.
Yeah. And a pretty cool
first time it's been shut down in 20 years. I mean,
yeah. And it's for Trump of all people. Yeah. It's this isn't that kind of the same story that when Trump went to China, he's like the first guy that got invited to that place in China. Like he's the first president to step foot there.
The Forbidden City. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, with the China stuff in the trade deal, that's what we had over the weekend. I think that was last weekend. Everything's just getting so cloudy at this point. I don't think we talked about it on the show last week.
It was Sunday, I think.
Okay. So that trade deal is very much like it was in 2020 with additions, obviously. But, you know, one of the elements of that was the fentanyl trade. And Trump has talked many times over the last 4 years in rally speeches about, there you go, about how she dealt with drug dealers in China. And he said, quick trial, and they put him to death. And they had agreed, Trump and she had agreed before the very deadly pandemic that she was going to cut down all the fentanyl flowing into the United States. And so then we had the very deadly pandemic and Trump was quote unquote not president. And during that time, she went back on that deal, started flooding our country with fentanyl nonstop, killing our citizens. And Trump still spoke nicely of him the whole time and now says he's his friend and they're getting that same deal back in place. I think believing that something like that could happen is preposterous. And therefore, it didn't happen. It obviously didn't happen. So whatever story we're being told about that, the reality has to be something different. And there's no way in the world that one of these leaders has this relationship with Donald Trump, understands that this project is taking place to remove the global regime influence across the world, and they're going to go and do something that Trump might hold against them in the meantime while he's not president and Joe Biden is president, like as if they believe Joe Biden actually won that election.
Well, that's such a good point, and it's such a good segue, man, because next we're going to talk about the Her Biden tapes.
Yeah.
And these are just, it's so good, but it has everybody's, the narrative's sparking up again. There's like this phase now, this pattern I've recognized ever since Trump's been in there. We've had some story come to the surface about Joe Biden's legitimacy. And when there's a little lull, Trump will throw out a reminder that, hey, I won that election. The 2020 election was rigged, and it was rigged by the most of anything in history. You know how he does it. But
well,
now
he did a great one today.
Yep, we'll do that. So I'm going to play a couple clips from the Her Biden interview, and you guys can listen to the stuff he says and how bad it is, and then we'll get into Trump's post about it. Let me get to YouTube here, though. I forgot to pull these up. So there's two of them that I think are pretty crazy. We went through a lot of these last night on the Liberty Den, so apologies if there's any, if you've heard this before, but the context to both the clips I'm going to show you are, hey, Joe Biden, where in your house did you keep the classified documents? And Biden would just ramble and ramble about anything and everything other than the question he was asked. And her responding was like, hey, I see you have a photographic memory of your house, but once again, where did you keep the documents? Then after he asked that second line of question, like a half an hour's passed, and he's like, do we need to take a break or something? Because he wasn't getting anywhere with them. He wouldn't respond to the question. He's clearly demented in my mind. But let's first show this one where Biden couldn't remember details about his own son's death. And if you have any comments or anything you want to say,
sure, just
stop me.
We were living in Chambers Road, and there were documents related to the Penn Biden Center or the Biden cancer failure shot or your book. Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying. And so it was, and by the way, there were still a lot of people at the time.
I'm going to speed it up a tad. But Chris, have you watched these yet?
I've heard some clips that I saw pop up in the feed, but no, not the entire thing.
Okay. Pretty rough so far. Remember, the question is, where'd you keep the classified documents? And he's trying to remember the date and using his son's death. It's insane.
I got out of the Senate that were encouraging me to run in this period, except the president. I'm not a mean thing to say. I mean, he just thought that she had a better shot of winning presidency than I did. And so I hadn't at this point, even though I'm at Penn, I hadn't walked away from the idea that I may run for office again. But if I ran again, I'd be running for president. And so what was happening though, when the vote dying, May 30th, 2015 he died? 2015. I think it's 2015.
I'm not sure the months are going to go.
Yeah.
That's right. Mr. President.
And what's happened in the meantime is that Trump gets elected in November of 2017, 2016. All right. So why not 2017 here?
That's when you left in office in January.
Yeah. Okay.
Like just so far, the difference and distinction between him and Trump, like Trump, when he tells a story, he's asked a question, okay, and he'll ramble on too, like kind of like Biden does. But the way Trump rambles on, he'll start the story, and then he'll go to a tangent of the story, and then the tangent of the story, he'll call the media fake news, he'll make fun of somebody, and then he'll come back and he'll close the entire loop with a perfect answer to a question asked.
That's
Biden
the weed.
the weave. Biden is lost here. He doesn't even remember what year Trump was elected, what year he left office, his son's death. Like, but this was October 8th, the day after the October 7th Israel attack. The day after was when this interview took place. It was actually the 8th and the 9th. It was a two-parter. But that wasn't that long ago, guys. And the media was covering for him. He was about to run again in 2024. I wish he would have. Miss him sometimes. But anyway, I'll finish the video unless you have anything to add.
It looks like someone cut off his ponytail.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that weird? How his hair
weird.
is just draped over at that point.
That's very weird. And it goes like all the way to the top.
Yeah. I don't know.
But that's when Trump gets sworn in.
Correct.
Yeah. And in 2017, Bo had passed, and
Bo had passed in 2015. They already established that, but he's back in 2017.
this is personal. The genesis of the book and the title "Promise Me, Dad" was I know you're all close with your sons and daughters, but Bo was like my right arm, and that was my left. These guys were a year and a day apart, and they could finish each other's sentences. Bo, I used to go home on the train in the period that I was still in the Senate. Anyway, there was pressure, not pressure. Bo knew how much I adored him. And it sounds...
Okay, you guys get the idea.
Gosh,
insane, though. And then Trump came out with this post.
And the entire time, the question he's answering is, what about those classified documents?
Yep. And he did this multiple times. Like the first time he was asked it, like I said, he'd start explaining his house. And then he talked about the poster board on a wall and then a picture on the poster board, and went into like a 2-minute story about being in Mongolia and meeting sumo wrestlers and riding horses and shooting bows and arrows. And then at the end of it, that's when like her was commenting on, I see you have a photographic memory of your house, but here's my question again. Where are the documents? You know, he just can't figure it out.
Biden was like that throughout his fake presidency as well. I mean, he just always winds into another story, always trying to bring it back to Bo or to his childhood in Scranton, you know, just the same stories over and over again. Whenever he gets stuck, he just diverts to one of those stories. And that's probably served him as a politician for the last 60 years, because when you have some degree of power, you can basically just babble and bullshit in front of people, and they will still grovel before your power and convince you that you're actually being smart and that you sound right and that you are totally ahead of the game. And you can actually, if you're Joe Biden, you can totally buy into that and believe that they are really praising you because of how good you are. And then you think, well, I must be really good.
Well, this is a tactic people use on social media too. It
Sure.
doesn't, you know, it's not just people in power. It's when you're insecure about what you do or whatever, and people criticize it, you play victim. You draw on you have a public struggle session, and people will come to your aid, especially the people who do it with you. They'll support you. It's like this big, you know, everybody lift us up. We're all on the same team here. It's the same tactic, like the victimhood.
Totally.
There's power to it. People, it's emotional manipulation.
Well, it's also attractive to other people because everyone wants to take the side of the underdog or the victim. So if you frame yourself that way, you can totally be the aggressor. You can totally be the one that's creating the awful situations perpetually, and just still, as long as you're shameless enough and dishonest enough to keep portraying yourself as a victim, there are going to be people who just out of the goodness of their hearts, and then of course lack of the information about what's actually happening, they'll go along with it.
100%. I want to read the tweet or the truth that Trump put out about the Autopen, because this is a story that again is back in the news. I did reach out to Ed Martin, so I want to get him on. and he responded to my message on Twitter with a thumbs up, asking him for an interview. So I don't know what that means. Yeah, I don't. It's like, hey, would you like to come on for an interview? When would be the best time? All these things.
This, yeah. Did you follow up yet?
Thumbs up. Well, I sent him the message, so like asking the same questions again. But he gets, I'm sure he gets so many DMs from people. Anyway, that was a segue. I didn't need to go down. Donald Trump on Truth Social, whoever had control of the Autopen is looking to be a bigger and bigger scandal by the moment. It is a major part of the real crime that the presidential election of 2020 was rigged and stolen. Millions and millions of people knew that, but the radical left Democrats waged a campaign of inoculation and innocence like none that had ever been waged before. This is why the unselect committee of political thugs who were given a full and complete pardon by the person who wielded the now illegally used Autopen deleted and destroyed all evidence and information from the corrupt and vicious witch hunt against me and many other people whose lives were completely shattered and destroyed by this historically criminal event. Remember, it all began with dirty cop James Comey, Obama, a hapless and cognitively impaired Sleepy Joe Biden, and my now very famous accusation that they spied on my campaign. Whoever had control of the Autopen is just the beginning. The biggest crime of all is that the 2020 presidential election was rigged. I, MAGA, won the election by millions of votes, and everyone knows it. God bless America, for the fight has just begun. That's an all-timer right there. That's
that's a big
post.
One. And you know, the word, not to divert from the purpose of this conversation, but I think a worthwhile tangent is he's talking about the period right after they rigged it, and immediately they began a campaign of inoculation and innocence.
Yeah.
One of the first things they did when Joe Biden became fake president was to begin the vaccine mandates. So the inoculation term is really interesting because of that parallel. And then as far as the innocence goes, I mean, yes, they did play innocent when it comes to stealing elections, but everybody kind of knew. And then, of course, they made all of us out to be domestic terrorists because of the very violent insurrection.
Yeah, you know, we've talked about this Autopen story a few times now, ever since it first started coming up, and I do think it's an interesting and entertaining, narrative approach here to Joe Biden's legitimacy. I'm good with it, but I don't want that to be where it ends. And I think Trump is right over signal when he truths about this, because he does call into question the Autopen and the legitimacy of those pardons, but he goes all the way and blames it on the rigged election. And my only fear about this whole story is we're going to be happy with Joe Biden being deemed illegitimate because somebody used the Autopen instead of him, right? That's not good enough. We need to go further and need to keep pushing this further. And this is one of those things that I don't think Trump, in his character, like how competitive he is, and I don't think he's going to ever let that go. He's not going to let that one go unresolved. At least I hope not. But we got to keep demanding for it regardless.
Yeah.
But there's another post here. There's two more Truth Social videos that I'm going to play tonight. One I'm saving for the end. This one's pretty good too, because he posted this today.
Oh, okay. I figured this was going to be the one you were saving for the end.
No, I think we should at least talk about this one.
Let's
The
do
other
it.
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember John F. Kennedy Jr.? He was declared the front runner for the New York Senate seat back in 1999. Days later, his plane crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, and his rival, Hillary Clinton, was elected senator. Mary Mahoney was a Clinton White House intern. She knew enough of the inner workings of Bill's sexual advancements to be a star witness during the Clinton impeachment trials. She was brutally executed at a Starbucks she was managing in 1997. In 1993, White House counsel Vince Foster was found dead in Fort Marcy Park near D.C. He supposedly killed himself, and among a lengthy list of potential foul play, the bullet was never found.
Then there's James McDougal, a key witness for White House prosecutors. He was serving his 3-year sentence for bank fraud at the Fort Worth Federal Medical Center in Texas. And just before he was to give a testimony before the grand jury, McDougal suffered a heart attack in solitary confinement.
In 2015, Walter Scheib, a White House chef hired under Bill Clinton, joined the list. His body was found at the bottom of a river, nearly 2 miles from the base of the trail he was reportedly hiking. An autopsy determined that Scheib's death was accidental drowning, but he might have known too much. 27-year-old Democratic National Committee staffer Seth Rich was shot and killed in D.C. this year. There is speculation that he was the source of the controversial leaked emails allegedly sent by DNC staffers, and that he may have been murdered in retaliation. Then Sean Lucas, the lead attorney in a fraud case against the DNC, was found lying on the bathroom floor by his girlfriend when she returned home on August 2nd. His death was reported classified, pending the results of an autopsy. To this day,
I mean, that's a pretty cool video for Trump to be posting.
That thing goes hard, man.
Yeah.
And, the other thing, it's really interesting that that's just, I don't know, was it yesterday, 2 days ago? The 8647 thing with Comey putting himself right back in the picture. I mean, if this was a television show and a character from seasons past whose storyline isn't front and center this season comes back in, you might expect those storylines to be re-engaged to bring some sort of closure to these storylines. So that's a character that's tied inextricably to Hillary Clinton at this point because of what went down in the 2016 election. So to see that pop up right before this is interesting. And, Hillary Clinton had that tweet, I guess, at the beginning of the week about how if you're receiving a $400 million gift from, Qatar or whatever, however she said it, you're definitely getting something in exchange for that. And of course, the obvious retort is, yeah, you were doing that all over the world through the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah, I think here's that tweet. No one gives someone a $400 million jet for free without expecting anything in return. And then they're saying since 2001, Saudi Arabia has given the Clinton Foundation $40 million. And there's a bunch of these out there. Mm-hmm. Am I the only one? And I feel like I am because I got a lot of pushback from this when I said it on my Daily Herald show. The whole Comey 8647 thing, like I felt like that was a little, like people overreacted a little bit to that. Like people were very emotionally upset that I didn't think that was that big of a deal, especially considering, guys, keep this in mind. You guys are like freaking out over Comey saying 8647. And maybe it's not this chat, maybe it's just whatever, people on Twitter. But how many times do these same people that are freaking out like say, what's the punishment for treason? Like these people committed treason, we're gonna, send them to Gitmo and whatever. It's like the same thing. Like, I didn't see the big deal, but
yeah, I mean, the surface interpretation is obviously bad. There's no context of getting rid of Trump via an impeachment, and he was overseas at the time with at least some plausible threat of an attack on the plane or something else in one of these foreign countries. So that, I think, kind of heightened the seriousness. Generally, I agree with you. I'm not sure that it's something. I think people have a lot of interesting theories about what Comey's ultimate status is going to be. Yeah. And then we're talking about, of course, when it comes to Twitter, we're talking about like how people are going to react in the normie sphere.
Yeah.
I try to think about where, like how I would have reacted in 2021 and versus now, because that's where they are. Like, which is why I'm not on Twitter. Like, why would I participate in a conversation that's happening from 2021? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's, I guess, what we can expect. I just think it's interesting that he's back in the story. And who knows, man? It could like in the white hat interpretation of James Comey, right? Which people on this network have engaged with in the past. Yep. And that's fine. I want to look at everything from all sides. But with that involved, if he is in that role, then maybe the 9/11 coincidence comes into play, that it's 8,647 days. I think it might have been 8648, but it depends on how you count it. After 9/11, when he posted that post. So is he sending shots across the bow?
Yeah.
When it comes to 9/11 resurfacing, I don't know. It's one of those things we're going to have to see in the future.
Those are certainly interesting, interesting theory. I saw those too. The one thing you said earlier about, him being overseas and there's an active threat. I think it was when they're going to Qatar, wasn't it? When they had 8 fighter jets joined beside him, and then Trump made the comment like, do we really need these or something? And like, is there an active threat? Like, do you remember that comment?
Yes. Yeah. Trump's comment, that was the Saudi Arabia one, wasn't it? He was saying to reporters on Air Force One.
Yeah. Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is it.
You're going to be surrounded by 8 fighters, in about 7 minutes. Then you say, do we need them? And when they say yes, that doesn't make me feel good, right? No, let's assume there's no threat. We have to assume that.
Hold on. He said 8 fighter jets, 7 minutes. What did Comey put down there? 8647. Okay, never mind. 8 fighter. Yeah, I thought maybe he said 8647 in his statement, but he didn't. But anyway, yeah, Trump's saying about the active threat thing, that kind of ties to what you said about the Comey thing. Yeah, shouldn't have done it. I think the FBI went and investigated him already, but I don't think he's getting charged or indicted.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too, guys. Like, yeah, I do believe Comey should be in jail, but I don't think it should be about his Instagram post. I think it should be about all the crimes we're told he committed back when Trump was in office and he was head of the FBI. You know what I mean? Let's not settle for the Instagram post. Let's go for the gold. Just my opinion on it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's every single one of the avenues has to go all the way to the end. We need the proper outcome on all of these things. Nothing, no half measures.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the last topic we're going to get to tonight was the Autopen stuff. And so we should do that. I just want to check if we have any studio ads right now. By the way, yeah, we're still over on Rumble. If you are new to the channel, new to the show, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and follow the channel here. That would be appreciated. Yeah, we got nothing on studio, man. Let's see if anything pops up later.
Rumble doesn't like us anymore.
Well,
just kidding. I think we're on the front page right now, aren't we?
We are. So they love us.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court and how they ruled itself is one interesting side of things.
Mm-hmm.
But how Trump is talking about the Supreme Court ruling that way on Truth Social is very interesting, because he's saying absurd things that we've been talking about for a while now. And like, why is he saying it like this when he knows the truth of the situation? But let's read this one first.
Mm-hmm.
And this was May 16th, so yesterday, the evening. The Supreme Court has just ruled that the worst murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and even those who are mentally insane who came into our country illegally are not allowed to be forced out without going through a long, protracted, and expensive legal process, one that will take possibly many years for each person, and one that will allow these people to commit many crimes before they even see the inside of a courthouse. The result of this decision will let more criminals pour into our country, doing great harm to our cherished American public, and it will also encourage other criminals to illegally enter our country, wreaking havoc and bedlam wherever they go. The Supreme Court of the United States is not allowing me to do what I was elected to do. Sleepy Joe Biden allowed millions of criminal aliens to come into our country without any process, but in order to get them out of our country, we will need to go through a long and extended process. In any event, thank you to Justice Alito and Justice Thomas for attempting to protect our country. This is a bad and dangerous day for America. This was having to do with the Alien Enemies Act ruling. And technically, they punted it back to the lower courts to decide each case by case thing. And that is not the technical legal term for it, but that's kind of what they did. But so this is what was one post. And then not even a day later, he had this post where he says, the Supreme Court must come to the rescue of America. So on one hand, he's telling you how awful and basically corrupt and anti-American the Supreme Court is. And then on the other hand, not even 24 hours later, he's telling you that only the Supreme Court can save us.
Yeah, well, the Supreme Court is the only thing that can save us, and they are terrible, is not an inconsistent statement. I mean, that does make sense, and that does describe the situation. I said to you and Burning Bright, I think you guys had a great discussion the other night about the state of the government and how these things are operating and meant to operate. Thomas Jefferson and the Declaration of Independence about throwing off a government that no longer suits the needs of the people.
Yep.
The one thing I would add to that is that at this point, the courts legitimacy is what's being tested. It's not Trump's actions. Trump has the obvious and overwhelming mandate from the people, which underlies everything. And so if the Supreme Court keeps making sure that Donald Trump is not allowed, in some sense, to do his job, do the job that the people elected him to do, then it's their own legitimacy that's in question.
Yeah, to me, it just comes down again to like how does this get resolved? Because again, you have the Supreme Court and Congress, in my opinion, both working against Trump, protecting the regime and the establishment, and Trump is kind of playing along in a lot of ways. And I think it's almost like Trump is stalling. That's the feeling I have with what's going on right now. It's stalling, and I feel this way because of the media too. That's where I felt at first. Is like Trump is still he's calling these people the enemy of the enemy of the people, the media, and then he's going on and doing sit-down interviews with them and being like, well, these guys suck. Here's all the reasons they suck on True Social, but I'm going to have them come over to my house anyway. Bill Maher. He's keeping them relevant. Why? Like, why would he do that unless we're not ready for whatever the next step is?
Well, it could be that, and it might not be a matter of readiness. It could just be a matter of timing, scheduling, game plan, etc. I think that you make a great comparison. I think that those two things are really similar. He's playing inside the system until people understand that the system itself is the problem. And then he has the option to move outside, while he has also kind of been pitching to the country the idea that he might have to move outside, right? Like, to say that I'm going to serve 4 terms as president in the first term would be a terrible idea at that point. To say it now, and by the way, General Flynn, I think, said it today.
Yeah.
Trump was 45, 46, and 47. Would you like him to be 48? And, I mean, a lot of people gave us a lot of shit for talking about whether or not Trump might still be president. Well, now General Flynn's saying it. So how ridiculous is it?
That's so true, man.
But that's the
so
sort
true.
of thing. That's the sort of thing that when we understand how bad all the other options are and how good Trump is and how good this program is and how much we need this thing to continue, then all of a sudden the people have a different understanding of these term limits. Term limits were something imposed not by the founders. They're not necessary. If we have real elections, term limits would be a redundancy that would make no sense.
Yeah, that's so true. And I love the idea of Trump 2028, but I'm going to make another argument that I pretty much make with everything. And I know it's going to upset some people, but to me, that is, I would rather Trump get all the things he said he was going to get done now, do it now, get it done before 2028, and then he can hand the reins off to whoever we find to be next. We don't need Trump to be in 2028.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll take him if we get him, but I don't want that to be an excuse for us to delay the things getting done that we need to get done now. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yes. And if, as part of that process, a lot of the powers that were kind of acquired by the federal government that should have been left to the states are returned to the states, then the need for a federal government drops away pretty quickly. We're talking about, and I'm not saying that I'm against having a United States or anything, all right? But the idea of creating unions out of these disparate states or nations is quite clearly something that is a regime tactic. You can see them doing it in Europe. They had the same plan to do it in Africa. They have smaller versions of that in South America and Central America. So that's one of their tactics. We used to have the quote unquote several states, meaning that they were separate from one another. Not that there was many of them, although there was also that. And they were considered nations. And that's one of the key aspects of the birthright citizenship argument, at least from those defending birthright citizenship. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the arguments. I actually listened to it all yesterday. It was really interesting. But
the SCOTUS thing? You listened to the whole thing?
Yeah. One of the key arguments in that was about, if you are a citizen of New Jersey, rather than being a citizen of all the United States, right? Like, each of the states would determine what makes you a citizen in that system. So if you're a citizen of New Jersey, What are you when you go to Pennsylvania? What are you when you go to Maryland or New York? You know, are you a citizen there too? And so that was a question that was dealt with, and there's an argument that is made, and I'm not saying it's proper, but that changed with the 14th Amendment, making everyone who was born here a citizen of the United States. And then no matter which state they're in, you know, now we're not a citizen of California or a citizen of North Dakota. We are a citizen of the United States and can just live wherever.
So where do you fall with that thing? Because that's an interesting argument, considering what we've discussed needed to happen with the 14th Amendment and going back to like a more original form of the Constitution and starting over. Like, if you're a citizen of North Dakota, do I get to go have reciprocity in Minnesota and other states? Like, is that how it should work?
Well, I mean, that is why you would make a union of states. That's one of the things that the people would want in that scenario, I would think. But I don't think that the federal government, especially in the form it's in now, is a necessity. And we should begin to consider ways that things would operate minus that. And it's funny because we already have a kind of a roadmap for that, because that's what we started as. And that's what was ultimately intended, except to bring the country together for common defense and to deal with currency and trade and stuff like that. So, you know, the Congress, in my mind, is wholly illegitimate. And I think it's really funny that we keep hearing they're just about to pass this thing. Oh, no, now they're not. Congress and the Senate, I mean, the Senate's not even supposed to be elected this way. That's not even in accordance with the original Constitution. The Congress, none of them can prove that they were properly elected. The Supreme Court can go ahead and prove itself illegitimate. And I think Trump is kind of just nudging them along the way. If they're protecting things that are just in blatant violation of the Constitution, then they are illegitimate. They don't have the power to usurp Trump's Article 2 authorities. That's not what they were designed to do. And one of the key takeaways for me in listening to those arguments was that they were very jealously protecting their own powers that they gave themselves unjustly over time.
The Supreme Court was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Everything was about protecting the powers they had, because the case was ultimately not about birthright citizenship. It was about nationwide injunctions. And they wanted to be sure that the court still had a way to stop the president from doing things that were unlawful or unconstitutional in however they determined that to be defined.
So which side was arguing about, you know, if you go from one state to the next, you may not have the same citizenship? Is that
so that was their side bringing that up, because their side wanted to focus in on the birthright citizenship.
Whose side? Their side.
Well, so John Sauer is the Solicitor General representing the Trump administration. So not that side, the other side. There were some individuals, I think maybe an NGO or something, and then a few, or a collection, maybe it was 23 states. And he was arguing on behalf of all of them to keep these nationwide injunctions in place. And primarily the argument centered around practical concerns about how the states would handle citizenship from one state to the next. And in addition to that, the concern for the individuals in this case was that they wouldn't be able to access benefits from the state without being citizens. And so that was causing direct harm to the illegal aliens who couldn't get like childcare help and stuff.
God, this is ridiculous.
It was wild. Yeah. Well, they're always concerned about the practical issues. Like, what are the results going to be if we decide this way? Well, that's not how it's supposed to be decided. You're only supposed to be deciding on whether or not the thing is constitutional, according to the original Constitution, not that they care.
Yeah. You know, what I keep going back to with this stuff is something you talked about a long time ago about the, you know, reality layer versus TV character layer. I don't even remember what you call it. False reality layer. Is that?
Yeah. False reality versus reality prime. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So when I think of, okay, let's say, you know, Trump implemented devolution, something we all believe something happened. We don't know exactly what it's called, whatever. We don't know all the details. But if he did that, and that's the reality layer that's going on underneath, behind the scenes and that stuff. We don't know if it's ended. We speculated back on the day before Trump got inaugurated about Executive Order 13961 being partially revoked, whatever. But if it's still playing out behind the scenes, that's reality layer. And what we're seeing on the TV, the false reality, like that's these cases. Like, does the ruling one way or another matter at all? Because it's not affecting the reality layer of what, our country being usurped and Trump operating on a different level. And so if that's the case, you can understand why Trump might come out here and truth one thing in one direction to gauge the reaction, and then truth the very other thing in the other direction to gauge the reaction. And that's a temperature check of the movement.
Totally. Yeah. And I was just talking, or I was just thinking about this week, actually. Like, I think my first episode of my podcast after the fake inauguration of the fake president, I said, and that was in the height of all of everyone who followed Q, or everyone who even understood that this thing was happening, which is kind of where I was at that point. Everybody thought something was going to happen, and that Joe Biden would not be inaugurated. And, or at least we wouldn't be shown Joe Biden being inaugurated, and that he would not be president, and Trump would come in, and the black helicopters would come down and all that. Right. So that clearly didn't happen. That's not what we were shown at all. And so I said the next day, like, we're going to have to track this on both roads at the same time. Right. Because it's obvious that there's nothing to this. Right. There's definitely something else going on. And that dude definitely didn't get 81 million real lawful American votes. But we're also being shown this thing, and everybody's going along with it. So we're going to have to track this too. And I think that's been a very productive way to have approached this over the last few years. And I think that's exactly what you're saying. Trump is also operating on both of those levels. He's adhering to the original Constitution. He's operating it within this constitutional abomination that exists right now. And then we have the abstract power of the system versus the real power of Donald Trump, the military, and what BB would call the sovereign alliance.
Yeah. And so if you think about it that way, like, Trump is on a track, okay? And this track is going to be running, like, he's not leaving that track, okay? And then the other track is the false layer, and Trump is trying to get that track closer and closer to where the track that he is on is, right? And so by, like, if that's the goal, that's part of our mission. Like, you can either help move the track over, or you can try to keep the track in the same path. And the only way it's going to happen at some point, and this is where I don't know what that switch is. At some point, there's got to be something that just, okay, that's enough. Let's hammer that fucker over here and get them on the same path, right? But I don't know what that hammer is or what that move is. Or are we just going to be on the slow grind? Then we need 2028 again to do it. That can't be it.
I mean, these are the times where I think that the people running all of this must just, like, have their head in their hands being like, why won't they think for themselves? Just everybody just watching the mainstream media and trying to figure out, like, what it means. Like, the whole projects that the people take power back for themselves and begin to think for themselves and think critically to the point where they might actually be able to participate in self-governance, which the people largely cannot do right now. And in terms of when the time's going to happen, I mean, there could be just a very dramatic moment. And at that moment, there will be kind of a split, like, everybody who's just in that middle, who will just go along to get along, doesn't really know what's going on. They might understand that maybe they should be Trump supporters, but their social cues and their needs within their in-groups or their workplace or whatever prevents them from doing that. At that moment, all those people go on one side. A few of them, all the crazy people, join the Trump deranged and are lost forever. And then there's still some portion of people just going along and getting along. And that big, powerful, jarring moment will be something that they just learn to adapt to and accept. So, I mean, that could totally happen. But if you're trying to make that as little, as you're trying to have as minimal a jarring situation as you possibly can, I think that that's what the purpose of all this is. But again, to your point, people have to actually be moving themselves and moving other people around them in that direction.
Yeah. And this is the part that's always going to drive me nuts, because, I'm a guy who, I want to see the plan. I want to see the details. I want to see all these things, but it doesn't exist. There is no, like, actual roadmap, and we're never going to know, like, what that moment is. And so that I think that's why I like our approach too, where you try to operate in both layers, because it gives you more opportunity to figure out what needs to be done. And I do think it's the, self-sovereign, become self-sovereign and help your community become sovereign too. Thank you to Hugh Mann, who gifted us 5 subscriptions. And if we missed anybody else, thank you to you as well. But yeah, man. Was there any more Truth Social posts that we were going to go through? I think I got through most of them. The Autopen. Oh, I hear a phone.
That was so very, very weird. That's not even a phone call.
Was it FaceTime?
It's like no, it's Telegram spam calling me.
What?
I've never seen anything like that.
Oh, I got to show you that. This is that boat, a Mexican Navy ship, just hit the Brooklyn Bridge in New York.
Yes.
You know what this is, guys? All week, people have been trying to convince me that we need to do a GART cruise. And this is just the comms I needed to shut that shit down forever. Not happening. Thank you, White Hats.
Man, I saw on Substack today, Substack, it just has a feed now like other social media apps. And
yeah,
sometimes they send ridiculous stuff and sometimes they send great stuff. Well, today there was this article that I looked at briefly, just kind of scanned through because I don't really care that much, but it was about Jeff Bezos and his, whatever she is, in Cannes for the film festival on his 417-foot yacht that in shape looks kind of similar to that boat, but it just the craziest extravagance. And it was just an article about how ridiculous it was that these people are pretending that they're saving the world in any sense whatsoever.
Can you pull that up?
Man, I can try to find it, but like Substack posts sometimes, unless you save them, like just immediately disappear into the ether.
Raging Smirk on Rumble says, my family member died from a bacteria received on a cruise. Guys, the evidence is just mounting. If you or your loved one has a horror story of a cruise, please write it in the chat. So we can stop the investigation into whether we should do a GART cruise. You don't have to actually spend your time looking for that story.
I know, but I kind of wanted to find it now.
I just feel like we do this. Like you'll say something that's really interesting to me, and then I want to see it. You're like, well, shit, I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah.
Let me never find it.
I know, man. Well, I remember way more like thoughts than links, I guess. Maybe I should keep better records.
I feel like you do pretty. The fact you remembered it is good enough. I just got to stop being so demanding, I guess. There was an interesting article from, this is kind of bouncing back to something earlier I just found in my tabs. Jonathan Turley. Like I like his approach and his legal analysis. I don't know if everybody agrees with that, but he has a good article out here. I'm going to put this in the chat and I'll send it to you too, Chris, if you haven't seen this. Because at the end, there's a pretty interesting quote. I want to read it. Right here. I'll read from about here down. As for the president himself, the one moment of clarity in the interview may have been his most incriminating line. When asked why he removed classified material on Afghanistan, Biden admitted, I guess I wanted to hang on to it for posterity's sake. That is precisely what critics at CNN and MSNBC accused Trump of doing, removing material as types of keepsakes or trophies. One president was indicted for that, and one was sent along his way to a second term in office. The real indictment that comes out of these tapes is a type of political racketeering enterprise by the Washington establishment. It took a total team effort from Democratic politicians to the White House staff to the media to hide the fact that the president of the United States was mentally diminished. If there were a political RICO crime, half of Washington would be frog marched to the nearest federal courthouse. And the reason I love that is because that is kind of what we hope and think may be going on behind the scenes. That's what we're told is kind of being going on behind the scenes.
Or moves in that direction, at least.
That's what James O'Keefe has been telling us is happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that the media, though, was not aware of all this stuff the entire time is too much to bear. I mean, it's funny that we have the Her tapes coming out on the same week that Jake Tapper's book comes out saying, oh my gosh, how could the Democrats keep Joe Biden's mental condition from us?
Oh, actually, I have a perfect clip on this.
I've said it for years now. He's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been.
Wyatt always does it to my camera every time. But yeah, man, I don't know. This whole the Robert Hur stuff is fun. I was reading through the transcripts again and just brought me back to all the legal cases and stuff I was reading through about a year, 2 years ago.
Yeah. Do you miss that?
Kind of like I'm looking forward to the bill coming out, which I don't know if I've brought this up with you. When back in December, when Joe Biden was in office, but they were passing that bill, they came out with that 1,700 some page bill. Remember that? And everybody freaked out. Benny Johnson stole what I found and got retweeted by Don Jr. and Elon Musk. And it made it to Jesse Waters, the little nugget about them squashing subpoenas. They ended up redoing the whole bill, throwing it out, and doing like a 120-page thin guy. Okay. But the past 4 months, all we've heard about is Trump's big, beautiful bill. Like Mike Johnson's package is going to be big and beautiful. It's going to be great. And I think we're going to get another 1,700-page bill. And I think there's going to be shit in there that's not good. And it's a rerun of that story. Like everybody's freaking out. All these Republican congressmen are saying we need to do single line votes. We need to stop doing these big packages. We need more time to read it. All these things. And yet they're doing the same damn thing again right now.
And what does it tell the country? What does it teach the country every time that cycle plays through again? Teaches them that the Congress is feckless. They don't care about your money. They're not trying to save your money. They're not trying to spend your money responsibly. I'm down with that lesson being learned over and over and over again. But like we just talked about a few minutes ago, these are all reruns. If everyone would just learn the point, we could advance past this this stage. But instead, we're stuck in remedial class forever.
You know what? This reminds me of I was coaching my son's basketball team today, and I'm going to put you in perspective of how the Trump and his team feels. Okay. Our job in this movement right now, we think, is to like get activated and like stop participating in, you know, what is being told to us. Okay. I'm coaching my son's team, and it's 7-year-olds, first grade basketball. And in order to like play defense, so like there's 5 wristband colors, and whoever has the same color wristband as you is who you're guarding. Right. So it's very easy to figure out.
Okay.
And every single time, nobody has figured out like, okay, this is my guy. I just have to follow him around. Like all I have to do is stand by this guy with the same color. Like I'm just playing match. I'm just playing match on a basketball court. Just go find my match, stand next to him. And they can't do it right. And I'm just sitting here like every break, everything like, hey, you wear this wristband for a reason. You just go stand, like go hold hands with the guy with your wristband. Like, I don't care. Just go stand next to him. And they can't figure it out. And I'm just like sitting here so frustrated. And I just realized that's exactly how they probably feel about some of us. Like we've done this. I've said this so many times. I've had the same story so many times, and you guys are still don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
you need to tell that story, I guess.
No, that was great. I think that's exactly right. Like they're obviously capable of doing what you're telling them to do, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not like they haven't advanced mentally to the point of being able to do that. But I imagine they probably just follow the ball around, right?
Oh, they get distracted. They follow the ball. They're looking at other games.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're supposed to do this thing, which isn't glamorous. You just like maybe the guy you're guarding doesn't have the ball. Maybe he's just running from there to there and back and forth. And you still have to go with him the entire time because that's how it works. If no one does that thing, then no one is defended. If everyone chases the ball, man, I mean, that's where we are for sure.
Yeah. And we've gotten away with it, you know, for the first like 4 games, but somehow the Bismarck YMCA, there must be like some corruption going on because all the tallest, best first graders in town just happen to be on the same team. And they're like they were like doing 360 layups and shit. And my kids can barely like walk and stop picking their nose at the same time. So it was a rough one today, guys.
That's funny.
It hurt. Can't out coach that kind of talent at this level.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
The good thing is I'm not sure that they'll be able to figure out enough of these kind of info ops, these long running narrative ops to keep this going forever. I mean, they'll have convinced us that all the problems have been solved by then. We're probably going to end up solving wars from 1,000 years ago. I mean, I guess that's what's happening in Russia, so it's not that far fetched.
And kind of Israel, maybe.
Trump did say, I think it was in his speech in Qatar the other day, he was saying that we're going to transcend these ancient conflicts. Actually, you know what? I think that I can probably grab that if you want to see it. Did you see that one?
I might have, but I read a comment in the chat and I didn't listen to the second half.
It was very much in line with what Trump was talking about with the neocons and the nation builders. Here, check it out.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
But this is from the wait, hold on. This is from the Saudi Investment Forum. Whatever. Well, I don't need to play it again if that's the.
Well, just bring it up.
Okay. All right.
Peninsula, places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, Doha, Muscat. The transformations have been unbelievably remarkable. Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence. We don't want that.
Yeah.
Yeah, transcending ancient conflicts, I think, is incredible. And, you know, there are still these regime satellite proxy states that need to be resolved all over the world. I mean, Guyana, next to Venezuela, South Sudan. It was funny, you know, the media spent the week trying to deny that there's that genocide happening in South Africa. I saw a clip on CNN today where one of their anchors was badgering one of Trump's spokeswomen. I think her last name is McLaughlin. I don't mean to forget her name or say it wrong, but he kept saying, you know, there are actual genocides going on in Rwanda and these other places. And it's like, those are you guys killing the citizens of that place. In South Africa, it's also you guys killing the citizens of that place. And in South Africa, they just happen to be white. So you're not willing to call it a genocide because you can't get anything out of it from your perspective.
Yeah. You know, I think the most interesting part still about Trump's whole trip and what he said in that statement. I mean, there's a lot of things to choose from, but in terms of what got me most excited is he almost said the same exact thing he said back at that UN speech when he had to do with the forever enemies. Like, we don't believe in forever enemies.
That was a great catch. Yes.
Yeah. And I thought that was just, it was that clip. We used to play that all the time on the DPH back in the day because it was so on signal with what we thought was going on geopolitically. And then for him to go there and say that same thing to those people, I mean, it just, again, like I said, it got my jimmies super rustled because it was very, very on signal, on brand.
It was such a cool week this week, man, because so much of what we've been talking about for so long was proven on the world stage in just ways that were obviously oriented toward the optics. And the optics were quite clear. This is obviously the most powerful person in the world, and it's not even close. And again, he's still got the relationship with Putin. He's still got the relationship with Xi and Rocket Man. Yeah. And sooner or later, we're going to find out about Maduro once people can wrap their heads around that. And this is all of the power in the world, aside from the bankers and whoever is in charge of the handful of European countries that are still aligned with the EU. It's a disaster.
and their power goes away once the global economic order is restructured and a new financial system is potentially ushered in.
Yep.
Just saying.
And the cartels and the terrorist organizations are destroyed. And again, that's happening.
That is happening. Yeah. Anything else you want to get on, man? Otherwise, I think we probably get through some Badlands boosts and
you know what?
Rumble rants.
There's one thing that I thought was really crazy yesterday that I went over on my show in it's a very short clip from the Supreme Court arguments. And I just want to put it out to a much broader audience. And I want to show you because I think you'll think it's kind of cool too. So Elena Kagan, I don't know if this was a slip of the tongue or saying the quiet part out loud, or, maybe I'm just making too much of it, but listen to her right here. All right.
There are going to be like an untold number of people who, according to all the law that this court has ever made, ought to be citizens who are not being treated as such.
And did you hear what she said?
Say that again.
All right.
Going to bind the one guy who brought this suit?
No, that would be a nationwide precedent that the government would respect.
So finally, once it gets to us after 4 years, you're going to respect that.
Yes, and in addition, we may well respect circuit-wide precedent. The Second Circuit, it just is.
And for 4 years, there are going to be like an untold number of people who, according to all the law that this court has ever made, ought to be citizens who are not being treated as such.
And
did you catch it that time?
For 4 years.
All the law this court has ever made. I didn't read the part where the court makes law. And
wow,
they think that what they do is make law. All the rules, all the regulations, all the statutes, all the court precedent, all of that is thought by in a certain mindset to be part of the Constitution. That's what the Constitution is. All of the words in the Constitution, all of the amendments, no matter how ratified they were, and all of the jurisprudence, all the legal precedent, all that is part of the Constitution. All the law this court has ever made. I found that unbelievable.
There's a really good video somebody put out about this lady testifying in front of Congress, I think, talking about this and how the courts have been warped to, they feel like they are the law and the creators of the law themselves. And this is a good clip. I also thought it was interesting the way she was phrasing the 4 years thing. I thought that's what you're hitting on. Like all the law we've made, and then something about people from the last 4 years. I thought there was a Devo tie there.
Oh, sorry. No, the context of the argument was how people would handle these situations if they had to bring lawsuits themselves to prevent what the government has decided to do in the instance where they can't get a nationwide injunction.
Gotcha. I want to see if I can find that link to that Twitter post.
But that was very bold of Elena Kagan, or very stupid.
Yeah, you should post a clip of that from your show or whatever, because I don't think I've seen anybody talking about that aspect yet.
I mean, it was just so subtle, and it was in the midst of 2 hours of conversations about this issue.
Okay, have you ever seen this clip? I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it's kind of in line with what you're talking about.
No, speed it up a little bit.
Okay, I mean, we could listen to the whole thing if we want, I guess.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Litigation attorney, and I write on the original intent of the Constitution using the Federalist Papers. I do not go by Supreme Court opinions, because for 200 years, the Supreme Court has been ignoring the Federalist Papers.
By the way, this is from 2013. So keep that in mind. This is a little while ago. Have you seen it before?
I have not.
Okay, you're going to love it then.
And the Constitution our framers given, and they have gone off on tangents of their own which have nothing to do with the Constitution. The Attorney General's opinion begs the question. He states that states can't nullify acts of the federal government which are authorized by the Constitution, but then he completely fails to cite article, section, and verse, clause, where the Constitution delegates to Congress authority to restrict our arms. When we ratified the Constitution, we created the federal government. We listed, enumerated every power we granted to our creature, the federal government. Article 1, Section 8, Clauses 1 through 16 lists most of the powers we delegated to Congress for the government, for the country at large. We didn't put on our list that our creature could restrict our arms. We didn't delegate this power to Congress because our framers wanted the American people to be heavily armed. Alexander Hamilton and James Madison write about this in the Federalist Papers. In Federalist Paper number 46, James Madison writes, why the American people are armed. It is so we can defend ourselves, our communities, and our states from the federal government in the event it becomes tyrannical and oversteps the constitutional limits on its powers. In Article 1, Section 8, Clause 16, pursuant to that, Congress passed the Militia Act of 1792, where they required every able-bodied male citizen between the ages of 18 and 46 except for federal officers and employees, to buy a rifle, ammunition, and report to their local militia for training. Pursuant to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11, Congress is authorized to issue letters of marque and reprisal. This is what authorizes private warships to make war on our enemies. These were the privateers who fired on British ships during the War of 1812. Our framers contemplated a people who were heavily armed. That is why we never delegated to our creature authority to restrict our arms in any fashion whatsoever. And when the federal government attempts to do so, they are usurping powers which they do not possess. The Attorney General goes by court opinions, not the Constitution. There is a vast gulf between the two. We have 200 years of Supreme Court opinions, and Mr. Chairman very kindly shared some of these 200 years of Supreme Court opinions, which have nothing to do with the Constitution.
Are you good with me continuing this thing?
Yeah, man, I think it's awesome.
Okay, good.
Charles Evans Hughes said over 100 years ago, the Constitution means what the judges say it means. That has been the prevailing dogma ever since, and generations of lawyers have been indoctrinated with this lie. That is why we no longer have a federal government which is held down by the chains of the Constitution. What we have is ruled by five judges on the Supreme Court who claim the power to do whatever they want to us and our country. So today we have two opposites, what the Constitution says and what the Supreme Court says. Well, your oath of office requires you to obey the Constitution, not the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is merely a creature of this Constitution and is completely subject to its terms. My third point, the AG asserts that the that the Supreme Court is the exclusive and final authority on the extent of the powers of the federal government. But our framers knew that Supreme Court judges were as likely as anybody else to be corrupt, usurp powers, and act lawlessly. So Congress, the President, and the states all have checks on the Supreme Court. Hamilton shows in Federalist number 81 that Congress's check on lawless federal judges is to impeach them and remove them from office. The president has his oath of office as a check on the Supreme Court. The president's oath is to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. It is not to obey the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court was not set up in our Constitution as the superior branch of the federal government. And then there's no need for me to Madison says in his report on the Virginia resolutions that it is a plain principle founded in common sense that the states, as the sovereign parties to the Constitution, are the final authority on whether the federal government has violated the Constitution, and that the states may check all three branches of the federal government, not just, they may check the judiciary, the executive, and the legislative branches by nullifying their acts. If the judicial branch connives with other branches in usurping powers, our Constitution will be destroyed if we do not stop them. This is what James Madison said in his notes on nullification, in his report on the Virginia resolution. I'm sorry I didn't have time to finish. I hope that during questions, someone will ask me about the so-called nullification crisis of 1832.
Thank you very much for your comments.
That's what it's all about right there.
She nailed it. The president has an oath to the Constitution, not to the SCOTUS.
Yeah. The president has a responsibility not to follow what they say. And that's going to be something that the country's going to have a hard time wrapping heads around. But that's also because the media is running a massive interference campaign right now. And I would encourage all those people who think that all of the media is totally under control and that they're just playing this game real slowly to wake up the normies. Well, all the people you're still saying that about continue to support the ideology that says judicial review and judicial supremacy are legitimate and that the courts actually do have the power to stop the president from executing his constitutional duties if they decide to do so.
Yeah, and that's why, again, come back to it, why it's so concerning to me. And this is not out of jealousy or anything. I don't care if Badlands is in the White House. Like, I say that in a joking manner, but I don't give a shit. What I don't like seeing is the same regime media being propped up and given their audience back to them when we're at a point where we could step on their throats. Like, I feel like if Trump wanted to, he could step on all the media's throats metaphorically and put them out to pasture. But instead, they're being given the opportunities again. And Trump knows exactly what he's doing with this. And there's got to be a reason he's allowing them to remain propped up. Or maybe it is all Karen Levitt in her office, navigating these things, and Trump's just going with the flow. Those are, I guess, probably the two options. But yeah, absolutely right. The media is the ones running interference for the judicial system. But if Trump knows his oath is to the Constitution and he doesn't have to follow, what they say, it goes back to the point we made earlier of why it's so interesting that he's playing both sides of it. Like, pretty much making the argument as to why he doesn't have to follow what they say, but then also making the argument defending the Supreme Court. He's operating in both layers on both tracks.
To approach it from a slightly different direction, as we see there's going to be a lot happening in the next month, and we're going to get all the Supreme Court decisions by the end of June. So that's 6 weeks. If it comes to pass that election disclosure from 2020 becomes publicly acknowledged, and then a case is up in front of the Supreme Court, like, for instance, the case that was brought at the end of 2020 by 19 state attorneys general. If something like that comes up and Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts side with the Trump interpretation, it will then at that point have been good that they are largely perceived by the public to be anti-Trump, or at least Democrat amenable. So, I don't know how these dynamics are going to play out, but it's at least something to think about in the future. How is this going to look in terms of narrative interests?
Also, in retrospect, thinking of that case from back in 2020, where Trump had no standing. If you have the same mindset and approach to how Trump is handling SCOTUS and the judicial branch with the Alien Enemies Act and deporting people, and you equate that to how he handled it, knowing the same principles existed during the election, where he's like, okay, well, they said I have no standing. I guess they're right and I have to walk away, right? His oath was still to the Constitution then. It wasn't to the ruling of the judicial branch saying that there's no standing and the election wasn't stolen or whatever. Like, none of that mattered. None of that does matter when it comes to Trump's oath of office, which is why we don't believe he actually just walked away.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, I posted that link in the chat, guys, for everybody. It's an awesome video.
I did find the Jeff Bezos yacht link.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, now I got to see it.
Chat.
Oh, there it is. Let's see what we got. Louis Spisano Substack. Okay, wait, what?
What? Did you pull it up? Yeah. So that's it, I guess.
That's his yacht?
Yeah. And then he's got then that little boat behind it. No, yeah, basically. That boat carries all of the staff and all their little toys and stuff that they need. So that's like the boat that brings along the stuff that they don't want on the main boat.
Oh my gosh. That's insane.
Yeah, keep going down. First of all, she is looking a little scary.
Yeah. Well, she did go to space recently, and I hear that changes people.
So yeah, there's the description of it. Equipment lockers, bar, dining for 12 on that second deck. They have casual dining for 10 on the deck above that. A hot tub with seating, a plunge pool, a main outdoor pool, his and hers loungers. Oh, wow.
Why did they feel the need to put
They have a hot tub in front too. Wow.
Like, of all the things, they're listing all the features of the boat, they put his and her lounges in there.
Yeah. And ship's radar on the front. But how about that figurehead of Lauren Sanchez? Do you see that in the bottom right corner? Maybe you should expand on that.
Yeah,
imagine putting that lady on your boat.
Wow. So yeah, this right here is another reason we can't do a Gart cruise, because I don't want to run into this ship and make fun of Bezos to his face. What is that? Is that a plane or helicopter? What is that?
Looks like some kind of seaplane. Yeah, that wouldn't be surprising if they had somebody fly in and land on the water. I think I saw that in Succession.
He's also got like his own little underwater submarine thing.
Yeah, I think that this is on the backup boat.
Oh, this is on the smaller boat?
I think so, just because like that doesn't look like the awesome space that they have on the main boat.
Jeez.
You see how the back of it's kind of squared off?
Yeah. Yeah, see it. Still crazy.
But yeah, I think there's like one more picture down. There it is.
This one?
Yeah. Look at how ridiculous these people are.
By the his and her loungers. That's crazy. All right. I wish I had a yacht. I wish I had like a pontoon or even a kayak or something, but
one day, man. One day. Hopefully they'll hey, Trump, can you let us know what's up with the class action lawsuits on the social media companies? Really waiting for that check. Thanks.
Guys, by the way, some great news in terms of monetizing Badlands on its content. We got accepted into YouTube's monetization program. We finally meet all the requirements on our 5th account. So I need a big favor. I need you all to go and click like on YouTube and everything and follow, because we only have about a week or two based on prior experience before they boot us off. I just want to try to make as much money as we can in the 2 weeks. So it's a bigger amount that they steal from us later.
Yeah, and I need like 160 more followers on mine. So please go do it. You can see the address right there.
Oh, yeah. I'm your moderator, guys. Do us a favor. Go follow. We got to get Chris over 1,000.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even, I wasn't live streaming until about 5 months ago. And
wow.
Just started. Yeah, I was always doing like a recorded audio show.
That's right. Oh, by the way, guys. So part of the Rumble creator program thing is we need to get 5 hours a month on premium. So earlier today, I streamed day 1 of Gart to Rumble Premium, but it's for free on YouTube. So you guys could go over to YouTube and watch that in full, or you could subscribe to Rumble. That's cool too. We've got over 20,000 watch right now. So hit that thumbs up if you're new, guys. Also, make sure you give us a follow. I'm going to check for studio ads and then nothing. Okay, we got Boost to go through. Any other closing thoughts, Chris?
No, man, that was fun.
That was fun. Lionheart over on Badlands Boost, $100, says, evening, guys. Just curious your thoughts on the seeming lack of speed and ferocity this part of the awakening and subsequent justice phase has been, ? Seems intentionally slowed down for some reason. Thoughts? God bless.
I think we're on schedule for a lot of big reveals in the next month. And I am looking forward to America's birthday party and a massive military parade that will be on par with what we witnessed on foreign shores just this week.
I would agree. You said, well, I too am not pleased with the pace, but I'm an impatient man. So I don't know. Yeah, it's rants now. That was all the boosts. Oh, I got such good. I'm so excited for the video at the end. Micro Toolmaker for $50. Good to see you, man. I haven't seen you in a little while. Wednesday and Saturday, DPH, best show on the interwebby thingy. Where we go one, we go all. Thank you for that, sir. Sunny Peach for $20 says, yay, 3 live shows in 2 days. Keep up the good work, guys. Thank you. ClareCat367, Oregon Badlanders meet up today, 17 on the 17th. Only 15 in the photo. 2 went walkabout before we could get pics. Oh, we got a photo here. Get this pulled up if I can. We had a ton of... Oh, it says that link doesn't work. I'm going to have to tag me in. Oh, never mind. Got it. Look at that crew.
Awesome.
That is awesome. I think that's Cujo right there, isn't it? Front. Good looking crew. We have a bunch of meetups going on. Florida, June 28th. Let me get that pulled up. June 28th, 5 to 8 p.m., Lakeland, Florida. Make sure you guys RSVP to VIDAMCC at protonmail.com. Going to be a pretty big one. We're also doing one on June 14th in Minneapolis at Quinny's Pub. I don't have the time on that yet, but it's going to be that date for sure. Clearcat367 again says, thank you very much, John, for creating this amazing community. Deeply grateful for the sanity and love it provides each and every day. Many blessings to all. Thank you, Clearcat. Texas Jules with $100. Badlandia Task Force congratulates Whiskey Girl and Fat Chance on tying the knot today. Excuse me. We love you both, and thank you for sharing your special day with us. It was a total blast. It was really cool.
Congratulations.
Yep. I did think about it. I'm pretty sure technically they're the second marriage. I think Ty and JC would be first.
That's a good point.
Yep. Angie K says, evening, guys. Did y'all see how Trump just posted about Comey's daughter being fired? But the return he posted actually spelled it Coney.
All right. Well, I'll look that up.
Yeah. You understood what she was trying to say there?
Yeah, I guess I'm just
okay.
There's a Bob Iger post on ABC Fake News and Little George Stephanopoulos. That's all I see. I don't see one on Comey's daughter. Oh, yes. Here it is. He's reposting someone else's post. Here you go, John. So this is the Trump post right here. And I'll click into it. Do you have it pulled up?
Yep.
So, yeah. And then this is Garn Mar. Coney's daughter and son-in-law need to be relieved of duties by the FBI.
You got to share the next screen now.
What do you mean? Oh, damn. I didn't realize, sorry, that it opened in a new tab.
Yeah. All good.
So there we are. Coney's daughter and son-in-law need to be relieved of duties by the FBI. They have a clear conflict of interest since Comey called for the assassination of the president. Good Lord, people, how are they still there? And so Trump retweeted that.
2 different spellings. Interesting. It's kind of funny.
I forgot to even look at that part.
It's funny to think of Trump going through the replies of his posts, like reading what everybody's saying, you know? And
well, yeah, especially when he goes on those posting sprees where he reposts all the spammy, like boomers, but boomer memes is a thing.
Yeah.
They're called boomer memes. I don't know what else to call them. So all the spammy boomer memes that fill up Trump's comments. And I don't know, like, I think it's a really interesting social media manipulation. But if you go under any of Trump's posts, you're not going to see any actual like comment or discussion for the most part. You'll see a long string of basically just spam and people trying to get their accounts noticed by being in Trump's comment section.
It's all the same people too. Like the first person is always like they have alerts on or something and the post ready to go. It's all they do.
Which is why I don't make a hell of a lot of Trump reposting those things. You know, some people are like, oh, look, this is a special message. No, it's not. He just reposted 50 spam posts from a bot army trying to throw him off. He could be doing something else.
That's why I don't draw attention to very often the fact that he once retruthed a Power Hour link. No big deal.
True.
Anyway, let's go back to the rants here. 1027JS says, thanks. Actually, no, I got to read Meerkat first. Chris, your standalone rollout of the purple carpet was great. Great clips. Love the fighter jet escort. The MBS reaction showed really touching respect and love. Sovereign Alliance proof.
All right. I'm going to throw that in the Rumble chat.
Throw what in?
The link to that episode the other day he's talking about.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. 1027JS says, thanks. Thank you, Joe. Good to see you. Wedge Gravy, Comey was loaded into a Secret Service car today. Maybe this was his arrest for Russiagate too. Is that for real?
And I didn't see it, but I don't doubt that could have happened.
Lucy the dog, grace and love, wisdom and integrity to all Badlanders. Thank you, Lucy. The Meerkat says, here's the Alcatraz plan. After tribunals, any deep state player that chooses life, probably for the first time, gets locked up at Alcatraz and the tours continue. Proceeds go to J6ers and veterans. I like it. Garden Guys is now a monthly supporter. Thank you, Garden Guys. Emerald Dragon 1333. Hey guys, great show as always. John, I sent you a message on X when you get a minute. I will check that out. Thank you. Makanon, if you go on a cruise, get a balcony room and order in, you won't have to interact with people unless you want to. I think the point would be like doing a GART on the cruise. Like if I'm gonna, That's probably not what I'd do on a cruise. But anyway, Texas Jules says, took a 40-member family reunion cruise to Alaska last summer. Amazing, by the way. But 38 family members got sick with COVID, except for me and my sister. You were the 2 unvaxxed. Cruises are petri dishes. See, guys? That's what I'm talking about. Just sounds like a nightmare waiting to happen. Q-Fan Addict. Can't think of a better way to surrender some self-sovereignty than to go on a cruise. You're the proverbial child in the playpen. Pretty sure Trump's never made diplomatic visit to China. That was North Korea and DMZ. Didn't you go to the Forbidden City?
Yeah.
I think I even looked that up. But I didn't.
Yeah, you did. You showed us earlier.
Oh, yeah.
That was part of the capitulation, a.k.a. submission tour.
Yeah.
First term.
There you go. In Beijing, China.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got Human17 for $7. Excellent work, John and Paul. Thanks to you and all the Badlander Media crew. Keep going. Check out Israel's Strategic Liability for America. There's a YouTube link here. So we'll check that out when I get a chance. Appreciate it. So that is a 30-minute episode, and I'm not watching that right now. But we do got a great outro video. So, Chris, man.
Oh, do you? Man, I was going to bring up one too.
Well, what's yours? This is mine. Do you see that one?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I also have a better one. Too. Is yours better?
Mine's from Archer, and Human actually just reminded me of that because he brought it up in the chat earlier. I kind of quoted Archer. And
okay.
Have you ever seen Archer?
Yeah, let's do that one.
I mean, we can do both.
Okay,
this one's only a minute long.
Okay, we'll do yours and then we'll do Trump's, and then we'll end it there. So thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
And you said no dates.
I said no such thing.
Well, your mouth did.
Well, your mouth better get over there and make Torvald happy.
Phrasing?
Regale him with exciting tales of ISIS exploits. Oh, this is the last time you make me out a fool, Len Trexler. You want to play me hard?
Phrasing?
No, I don't. Well, then you better nut up.
Phrasing?
Because I've swallowed just about as much as I can take from you.
Hey, phrasing! Don't say it. I'm in enough pain.
Yeah, the entire hotel's talking about your little shaving accident.
Hooray!
And if you want to get schlots into you,
phrasing,
you better start eating strudel. What? Major chubby chaser.
And don't you want to freshen up after your long ride?
Phrasing, mother. Sorry, Katya.
It's fine. Please, excuse me.
Look, Lana, don't get me wrong. I like your spunk.
Phrasing.
Shut up!
So, hey, it's a happy ending.
Yeah, it's just a big old goddamn fairy tale.
Fairy tale? Phrasing?
Reggie!
Shut up! And Mama never liked you. Easy, don't shoot! I'm coming out!
Phrasing.
No mother of the groom, so...
Yes, right here.
Mother, you came.
Phrasing, boom! Inappropriate.
Oh, Barry, I am coming for you. Phrasing. Boom.
Rat! Hello!
Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. She took the midnight train going anywhere. Just a city boy, born and raised right here in Houston. He took the midnight train going anywhere. A singer in a smoky room, smell of wine and cheap perfume. Oh, a smile can share the night. You go on and on and on. Come on, strangers waiting, looking down the bar their shadows, searching in the night. Working hard to get